Episode 7, week 6, technically. This week we're in the alpaca land of Peru, which of course they're going to all the Spanish-speaking countries so that Peter can talk to everybody. But the girls must not be as excited about this place because when they got to the hotel, only 2 girls jumped on the bed. But what's really crazy is that next week is hometowns. How do these seasons go by so fast? And just as I was thinking, I was going to quit watching. So Peter gives us a quick rundown on his feelings after illegally Skyping with his mom. You're not supposed to do that. And he tells us he's concerned that he's falling for these girls and they might not be returning the favor. Well, Peter, that's because you choose the models and the girls who date celebrities short term. But he comes in to chat with the girls and say like, hey, this is getting serious. You know, we need to start talking about our feelings. And when he comes in, he sits down next to Victoria, who looks miserable as usual. Peter, you didn't even do anything wrong. And this is what results. Imagine what will happen if you do something wrong. You're picking a wife here, okay? Choose wisely. Then he leaves and all the girls are talking about what the future might look like with Peter. But the only girls who are speaking up are Kelly, Madison, and Natasha. No Victoria, no Hannah Ann. But anyway, first one-on-one goes to Madison and the date card says, I think you're a catch. My guess is he chose Madison to go first so that every date after he can compare to that one. Because that's like, you know, top of the line for Peter. So he's got to see if these other ones can measure up. Even when they greet each other, he is so smitten with her. And that's just them saying hello. Oh, and now the forehead bandage is off. And he did not let us forget it. So they're walking around Lima, they're skipping stones and catching fish. They also had a really good conversation about the scariness of everything and seeing a future together. And she also says like a lot, pretty much all the time. I'm just pretending that that's not a thing because it'll drive me nuts. Then we shift back to the house where Kelsey is talking about Madison's faith and how important that is to her and how she wants Peter to like lead the family. And I'm just wondering if that's who Peter is. Does he fit that role? Don't get me wrong. He seems like a very value-driven, just good guy. I just don't see him like super Christian, you know? But we shall see. But here's my prediction. Okay, now that we know how strong Madison is in her faith, this is where the sex thing becomes an issue. She's going to find out he's taking advantage of fantasy suites and he's no longer going to be living up to those standards that she needs. And it is just going to cause a ruckus. It's got to be that. Then cut back to Peter and Madison who are dancing to some weird music and doing like a freestyle swim stroke at the same time. Okay. So they sit down and now she really does open up about this whole faith in marriage thing. And I wasn't going to do it, but I did. I counted the number of times she said like. Now keep in mind, I started counting about halfway through her story. And this was the story about her dad and how she really wants her husband to emulate her dad. Now this was about 2 sentences, run-on sentences, but still 2 sentences. And she said the word like 16 times. You know, come to think of it, maybe it was more. I don't know, either way, 16. Dang it, Madison, I didn't want to have to find your flaw. But you're still my favorite. So Peter responds and says he wants to be a great role model and a great father, but he struggles with his faith. And it could be stronger, but that it is important to him. So there's that, I guess. I appreciate his honesty. She looked a little bit disappointed, I think. But then he saves the day and tells her that he's falling in love with her. And she almost cries. Have we seen Madison cry? I don't think we have yet. But it was a really cute moment. I just hope he's not fooling her into thinking he's going to be this wonderful Christian man if he's not. But anyway, we're going to Madison's hometown. I think we all knew that was going to happen, yeah. However, don't get too comfortable, Madison. Peter's going to tell you he did the dirty with the other girls and you were going to leave. Then comes Natasha's one-on-one and her date card said like, vamos a explore. And I'm really wondering how this one is going to go because we have seen next to nothing with them. Basically just her complaining about him to him. Now, did you catch the greeting between the two of them? Because it is not like the one with Madison. Much less easygoing and way less flirty. Not that they're not comfortable around each other, but it's a difference between like 2 people in love versus I'm probably going to break up with this girl later. So they're roaming around Lima and dancing with all these performers with everybody watching, and then they're kissing with food in their mouth again. It's got to be a fetish of Peter's, and it's disgusting. And they sit and they talk for a minute, and Natasha tells Peter all the men that he's going to meet if he goes to her hometown. And he laughs, but it's not a comfortable laugh. It's like, And then we go over to the house again where the girls are always in their little powwow. And they're talking about how this rose is not just any rose. This means he wants to take you to your hometown. Such a big step. Every year they say the same thing. And then they also take out the third date card, which is for Kelsey, and it says, love is a wild ride. They're really pushing these puns. So then back to dinner with Natasha. Peter is still talking about Madison in his private interview. It was not a good chance for Natasha from the start, or anyone for that matter, to follow up from Madison. So they're talking, and at first it kind of seems like she had similar feelings as Peter, as like maybe they're not really as far along as they should be, or that their relationship hasn't progressed enough. Yet she says she thinks their lives line up. How? Where? What? Where's the proof of that? Because, did you hear that? Because I feel like all we've seen between these two is just conflict. And this whole conversation is basically Peter trying to get Natasha to say that their relationship isn't really moved far enough along to the point where he can see a future. I mean, she can see a future with him, or that it's not going to work out, or something, anything to make him not have to do the dirty work. But she doesn't say it. She says the exact opposite. That she really wants to see where this can go, and she would love to bring him to her hometown. Backfire, baby. So he picks up the rose, and very shortly after, sets it back down. Basically, all he tells her is that they're just not as far along as the other women. Sorry. And cue the orchestra of sad violins. Then her suitcase gets picked up at the house, and all the girls are so shocked that she's going home. Please, if someone was going to leave, who did you think it would be? You'd be more shocked if she stayed. Then you'd be counting roses like crap. And now comes the last one-on-one date with Kelsey. And as usual, she aggressively darts at him, jumps on him. How she doesn't knock him over, I don't know. And this one was even on a downward sloping hill. Props to Peter for catching her. That's probably why he was so exhausted going up that hill. Not because he's out of shape. He just used up all his energy on that catch. So they're at the top of the hill, just talking about the future and how Peter envisions himself riding ATVs for the rest of his life. And Kelsey wants to be a stay-at-home mom, essentially. Peter says, yeah, it's all about balance. Gave me the vibe he doesn't want her to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't know if that's accurate. I might have missed something, but it's just how I felt. Then we make it to dinner, and she's crying again. Almost made it through, but it wouldn't be Kelsey if she wasn't crying. It's just who she is. This time, though, it was good tears, I think. I guess she was talking about how she wants him to meet her family. I guess that means tears. And after the tears, Peter follows it up with, hey, and we had fun today, right? It wasn't even emotional. And she looked a little offended. But don't get ahead of yourself, Peter, because it's about to get emotional. So she starts talking about how she's excited to bring him home to Iowa, which I didn't know she was from there. But if it doesn't work out with Peter, she can date Chris Soules, because it's slim pickings over there, right? They might even be related. Then we get into a pretty intimate conversation about her dad, how they haven't really been in communication, and he had like texted her, and she's trying to figure out how she wants to proceed with the relationship, I think, something like that. It's really a sad situation, but I feel like she's very strong in how she's handling it. She could be very bitter, and she's not. And I have to say, whenever they have a serious conversation, she is so serious. Like, no smiles. I do see a lot of qualities in you that I've always wanted but never had, and you are very special to me. And Peter just must love this vulnerability and love himself some daddy issues because he's going to Iowa. And the last date card is the 3-on-1. This is Victoria, Hannah Ann, and Kelly. One of them says, ugh, tomorrow won't be easy. Is it normally? Are we traveling back in time here to every other day of this whole season? And in my head here, I was thinking all three of these girls are front runners. I could not figure out who was going to go home. My instinct was to say Victoria, but also that's kind of biased because my hope is that it's Victoria. Now, as you can imagine, a 3-on-1 is already very uncomfortable, but it's especially weird for Kelly because Kelly can't even picture herself throwing these other girls in front of a bus. If she did, though, like if she did want to throw them in front of a bus, then everything would be all good. I think she's lying, though, because behind the scenes, her opinions of them make it seem like she could very well throw them in front of a bus. Should I throw one of these in there again?
Up your hairy.
Then they show up to the date and it's even more uncomfortable. Peter says, hey guys, got my bandage off. Okay, shall we? Now they're all sitting down talking to a Spanish-speaking guy and Peter's the only one that understands, so all the girls are just like, And the first person he pulls aside for one-on-one time is Hannah Ann. Now, she immediately starts crying, talking about how hard it is to potentially be leaving, and then reads him a list of all the reasons why she's falling in love with him. So the two of them are getting all romantic, while over there on the bench, Victoria is chugging wine again and crying about the fact that Hannah Ann is gonna get a rose.
I'm already in a bad mood and we haven't talked yet, so you can guess how that's gonna go.
At least she's honest. Now Kelly and Peter. And Kelly again says that she likes that their relationship is fun and that it doesn't have to be hard all the time. And you know, I agree. Okay. Fun equals like a good sense of humor, which equals enjoying life. That gets you through a lot of the hard times. But I think Peter wants it to be hard. And then Victoria and Peter. They're having a conversation and Victoria can't even look at him when they talk. She looks over her shoulder, then she'll like look back but not directly at him, and then look over her shoulder again, all while responding to things that he's saying. And then she has the audacity to tell him,
I feel like every time we're together, you're just always in a mood.
why? Because he calls you out for always being in a mood? This whole conversation was awful. She literally communicates nothing to him, except that it would be easier for her if she just didn't have him in the first place. So she'd have nothing to lose, I guess. And he's telling her, like, I've got reasons to doubt you. You're always trying to push me away. And her response is, like, I am committed. What? It doesn't even make sense. I hope that was the producers breaking up the conversation, because there was no logical way that those things go together. You're always pushing me away, Victoria. Like, I am committed. And that's about the extent of their conversation. So he goes back to the girls, and they're really building up Kelly to go home, especially with the "give me a rose, I'm an attorney" quote. So he picks up the first rose and pulls Victoria away to talk. He walks her up to a car and then starts telling her how, you know, it hasn't been easy, but he appreciates her honesty and he appreciates what they have together. And then he gives her the rose because he's a mega idiot. I don't mind a little crazy, he says. Well, clearly you don't, Peter. That's not a little crazy. I don't think you have any problem with it at all. Then we have Kelly versus Hannah Ann. Bum, bum, bum. He gives his speeches to both of these girls in front of each other. Why did Victoria get special treatment? Because she's the most dramatic and he loves that. But ultimately, the rose goes to Hannah Ann. And believe it or not, that is why she's crying on top of the washing machine. Because she got the rose. Poor girl, so overwhelmed. But she must have a good heart. I think she does. But clearly, Kelly is just not his type, right? No. And he tells her he was holding on to this idea of fate, and then that was really all that was holding them together. Otherwise, they're just buddies. So, goodbye to Kelly. Okay, ready for my favorite part of the night? Hannah Ann walks into the hotel room with Peter, and Kelsey runs up to her the same way she ran up to Peter and gives her a huge bear hug. I'm not sure if she forgot, but Kelsey, Hannah Ann drank your champagne. Must have made amends. But everybody's hugging now, all the sister wives. And the episode ends and we get our previews for next week. 4 main points. Madison is saving herself for marriage. What was my prediction? Okay. Victoria is being dramatic again. You know what? Yeah, you're going to have hard times, but it shouldn't be hard every time. We've got a lot of drama regarding coitus, which I don't know if that's going to be next week or if it's going to be fantasy suites. And then his mom crying and saying, don't let her go. This is what love stories are made of. Bring her home, Peter. Bring her home to us. This feels like a movie, like Poltergeist. Don't go into the light. Maybe not a direct comparison there. But this show, man, it's something else. Okay, that does it for episode 7. 7. Next week is hometowns, and I hope we have some crazy dads. See you next week.